Blog Talk Radio.
He is the last of his kind. All that remains of a once powerful nation. Some think he is a myth. Some believe he is the chosen one, who will bring balance to a world at war. And some will stop at nothing to destroy him.
Welcome everybody to Moorish Talk Live 100. I'm your host, Tahaka Amana El Bay. And tonight, our special guest will be Dr. Walter Williams. And we will deal with the subject of why African Americans and so-called African Americans and so-called black people cannot be citizens of the United States. And I want to weigh on in on that right away and give my little 2 cents worth about the this subject, because I've been dealing with it for years and years and years. And my position is that the United States is a conglomerate of corporations. And according to the law, the only thing a corporation can do business with is another corporation. Now, if a corporation could have citizens, then why don't Walmart, Kmart, you name the corporation, why don't they have citizens? Why do they keep talking about employees? What is this all about? But nevertheless, we're going to be dealing with the following subjects. Are African Americans or black people in the United States victimized by denationalization? Number 2, what is in the historical records concerning these people? Number 3, are this nation of people victims on their own land? Number 4, what people have been on this land longer than anyone else? Number 5, denationalization akin to genocide? Okay, we're going to deal with some of these things here this evening, and not just a small portion of what we're going to deal with. But anyway, we're going to go down into the commercials, and when we come back, I got to put on a little bit more a segment that's in writing about what's going on inside this thing that you call the United States. And then we have this other place called America. Wait a minute now, A.B. Where did all this come from in the first place? What was the name of the land before anybody came here and started naming it something else? Nevertheless, we'll be right back, so y'all just hold on a minute, and we'll get these commercials out the way, and then we'll be right back. Hold your head, get your paper and pencil handy so y'all can write some of this stuff down, okay? Be right back.
Credit card debt, student loan debt, lawsuits, child support, mortgages, foreclosure, secured party, and creditor. Get my free report. Go to www.tahakadebtelimination.org. That's tahakadebtelimination.org. What kind of trust do you set up? How do you use a trust? What do you put in a trust? For the solution, contact me, Tahaka Amana L. Bay. Get my free report by going to tahakadebtelimination.org. Driver's license, freedom to travel. Who exactly needs a driver's license? What did the U.S. Supreme Court rule about it over and over again? How does that work? What is proper syntax grammar? Get my free report. Go to tahakadebtelimination.org. Fill out the little contact form, put your email address in there. That'll come straight to me, and I'll rush it directly to your email. tahakadebtelimination.org. What a fantastic way to live. Hello, I'm Tahaka Amana L. Bay, operating in the private as a secured party and creditor instead of living the life of a debtor. Now, to learn how to do that, you have to get the knowledge. There's no doubt about it. You don't mix public with private, just like oil and water don't mix. For the skill and know-how, go to www.tahakadebtelimination.org. That's tahakadebtelimination.org. Contact me, Tahaka. My number is on the website. Or send me an email. That's tahakadebtelimination.org. Learn how to live the good life as a secured party and a creditor instead of a debtor, and eliminate your debts. Fun time is almost over. tahakadebtelimination.org. Peace.
Okay, we'll be right back. This is my position because I just want to put this little tidbit in before we get started here. I put out an article not too long ago, and what I would like to recommend for those of you who are over there on Facebook, we have the groups and stuff over there. And I have a group called Amana Secured Party and Creditor Group. Amana, A-M-A-A-N-A, Secured Party and Creditor Group. Go over there, join that group. There's a ton of files for you to examine. It doesn't cost you anything. It's free to join. You got access to the file. You can read them. You can download them. You can print them off. You can do anything you want to, so you have access to the knowledge so you know what's going on. Now, I put one article out the other day called Understand Your Road to Freedom. Every phase of our lives are in commerce. You need your straw man to operate in commerce. Your straw man has a license to operate in commerce, i.e. driver's license, marriage license, handgun license, occupational license, building permits, etc., etc., etc. Because, remember I just told you a few minutes ago that the United States is a conglomerate of corporations, and the only thing a corporation can do business with is another corporation. So what they do is to turn you into one. And we're going to show you how they do that. But nevertheless, let me go on here. A license is good as long as you want it to be, by your permission. When there's a fine for misuse of your license, you need to learn how to then switch the straw man to the living soul with the right to life, liberty, property, and pursuit of happiness. Okay. Now, don't forget, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Now, let's take justice for a minute. What justice means is guaranteeing that nobody on earth is mistreated. That's justice. Guaranteeing that nobody on earth is mistreated. Got it? Okay, now I'm coming back to this thing here that I'm trying to read to you. We'll be back to it after this one little paragraph here, and then we're going to bring in it because I see my guest is already here. We're going to open up the phone line so we can get in. But however, the straw man is a transmitting utility that allows you to operate in commerce with a license to conduct your commercial affairs. Anyone operating in commerce without a license is committing a commercial crime. That's why I keep running the commercials telling you to go to targetedelimination.org so y'all can learn how to play the commerce game. Get my free report. I'll send you stuff that you're going to need. But tonight we're going to deal with why African Americans and so-called black people cannot be citizens in the United States. Okay. We're going to open up that can and we're going to get down in here. Keep in mind the number to dial into the broadcast is 319-527-6733. That's 319-527-6733. Press 1 on your phone. That'll give me an indication here at the switchboard that you got something to say. Now, we won't be opening up the switchboard right away until we drop this knowledge for you. But then before the broadcast is over, we're going to open it up so you can get in. If you got questions or comments for our guest, Dr. Walter Williams, just press 1 on your phone. That'll give me an indication that you got something to say. 319-527-6733. Okay? All right. I'm going to area code 773. Dr. Walter Williams, are you with us?
Yes, sir. I'm here, Brother Tahaka.
All right. Welcome, my illustrious brother. Thank you for coming on to the broadcast, and I'm sure that you are going to give us the information that we need to have. And I haven't ran the great debate commercial. We're going to do that. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think that this subject here that we're dealing with, I think you debated that once before in the past, did you?
On this show?
No, not on this show. You had a debate about why African Americans and black people cannot be citizens in the United States. Did somebody try to get you to say something different about that, or what happened?
Well, you see, I debated two people.
Okay.
The first person I debated was a constitutional lawyer and professor who taught constitutional law at Northwestern University in Evanston, Illinois.
Okay.
We were on WVON, a very popular radio station in Chicago. That was in the year of 1991. So he came on there to try to dispute what I was saying about we Africans born in the United States of America are not citizens of this country due to the Constitution that was drawn up in 1787 in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So he came on to try to dispute that. And long story short, I and the guest that I had with me, Robert Somerville, which was one of my students at the time, and the listening audience ripped him up. And I finally made him admit, and I made him repeat it, that we were not citizens of America. I made him repeat that twice. Africans born in America were not citizens of the United States of America. But he fought very hard to try to bring in the 14th and 15th Amendment.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't bring in the 14th or 15th Amendment to justify us in this country for being citizens of the United States of America due to the Constitution drawn up in 1787. So that's one debate. The other debate is a hour-long television debate. I debated a brother in Chicago, on Chicago's television, one of the Chicago's television stations in Chicago. So what happened on that debate, let's go back to prior to that debate. I was on another program on television, and this guy was a co-host on there. And I never met him, never saw him, and never heard of him until I got on that particular TV show that night. So he must have been waiting for me because maybe he didn't like, at the time my book was just out, The Historical Origin of Christianity, and thesis of the book is saying there's never been a man that ever walked the earth in human form, been a race, creed, or color by the name of Jesus Christ. So I'm assuming that offended him, so he was waiting for me. So he asked me, well, let me ask you, Mr. Williams, in a sarcastic manner, his tone of voice, rather, was in a sarcastic manner. So he said, he asked me a question, and I answered the question. Then I said, let me ask you a question. And the question I asked him, he couldn't answer, and the camera was on him while he was stuttering and fumbling and falling and carrying on, trying to get his words out and so forth and so on. So he had it in for me. I didn't know that at the time. But anyway, a couple of months later, I was on another forum at a college, and he was there in the audience, and he asked me, he said, well, I have a TV show I'd like for you to go on, and what subject would you like to discuss? I said, well, I would like to bring up why we Africans in the United States of America, born in America, are not citizens of the United States of America due to the Constitution drawn up in 1787. He said, okay, fine. But where I made the mistake was I allowed him to meet with me at a restaurant, and I gave him answers to why we're not citizens of the United States of America. So he took those answers, and once we got on television, the camera was on, and he said, well, Mr. Williams, I disagree with you. I said, and right then and there, when he said those words, I knew that I had made a mistake. I knew that he was my enemy. So that debate is on television for 1 hour. I got that, in my archives. So that particular DVD tape can be purchased, or whatever the case might be, like the great debate tape is, out on the can be purchased out on the internet, so forth and so on. So I have that tape. Go ahead.
Okay, well, Dr. Williams, we got another caller with his hand raised. I'm see who it is before we get down into the broadcast. I'll call that area code 312. Let me see who this is before we press forward. Area code 312. You're on the air. Tell us who you are, where you're calling from, what's your question or comment.
Hey, this is Brother Yoel here.
Brother Yoel, welcome,
yes.
my brother. Dr. Williams, we got Brother Yoel in the house tonight.
Your southern brother, yes, homeboy. So, yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me this evening, Kahaka, and thanks the listening audience for listening, all those who are out there listening. Call a friend, cousin, brother, sister, and tell them to make the call and call in and listen to the show. All of y'all who are listening right now, let's see if we can multiply this. And let's find out whether that y'all actually should be in this country or you shouldn't be in this country, or what the deal is. If you don't know, let's get your pencils and pads out and take notes and investigate. Don't believe nothing we say. Investigate for yourself. So I'm Yoel from Underground Bookstore in Chicago.
Okay. Well, fantastic, my brother. We welcome you, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a slight pause before we
really get going here, because this is a real big fish, and we're going to need a big hook to bring this big fish in the boat and hope the boat don't turn over by the time we get through tonight. So if y'all will hold on a moment, we'll be right back. Dr. Williams, just hold on a moment. We'll be back. And Brother U.A.L., you hold on too. We'll be right back. Okay? All right, y'all hold on. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are paused, and our guest is here, and this gives you plenty of time to get your paper and pencil handy, and we will be back in just a few minutes to deal with why African-Americans, so-called African-Americans, so-called black people, cannot be citizens in the United States. That's what we're going to deal with tonight, and we need y'all.
Hello, everybody. I want to introduce you to The Great Debate by Dr. Walter Williams. He single-handedly laid out the facts in this powerful debate against Mr. Munir Muhammad of the Nation of Islam, Chester Blair, a prominent lawyer in Chicago, Illinois, and Reverend Henry Hardy, a prominent minister in Chicago, and Prince Azio bin Israel of the Hebrew Israelites. This debate was hosted by a retired policeman named W.L. Lillard. Now, the whole thing was a setup by Lillard and his gang, but it didn't work. They brought what they believed to the table, but Dr. Walter Williams brought what he knew for a fact and what he could prove and laid it on the table. We are now in the age of knowing. The age of walking around believing in stuff is over. For your copy of The Great Debate, go to tahakadataelimination.org. That's tahakadataelimination.org, or contact me by phone. My number's on the website. Oh, and by the way, the lawyer got bust up too. The Great Debate. Get your copy today. Good day and peace.
Sheila Ellis asks, how can low-income people change their paradigm and shift themselves out of the poverty cycle and into wealth?
That's a very easy one to answer. All they got to do is set up a construct where they attract and bring more capital and wealth into their environment, into their milieu. That's an easy one. See, if people can advance their causes best and quicker by owning a business. A business will attract capital and wealth 6 to 7 times faster than owning a job. Most blacks are always trained to go out and look for a job. Blacks are not being trained and cultivated being acculturated to go out and build businesses. And a business is not designed to reduce your poverty level. A job is not designed to increase your poverty level. That's what I mean. All a job is designed to do is to maintain you, to keep you 1 week away from starvation, unemployment, and food stamp lines. If you want to eradicate or reduce your poverty paradigm, you got to learn how to create wealth and get more wealth and income. You can do that a number of ways. First of all, you start off by building a business and holding the money that you got already. Do not let it out of your hands unless it bounces, or out of your race until it bounces 8 to 12 times. That's the first thing you do. Secondly, you create businesses that will attract money and wealth into your community, so they can pass through your hands along with everybody else 8 to 12 times. In other words, you only had $1, you build a business, you start practicing group economics, and that dollar is circulated 8 to 12 times, and $1 you had now becomes $12, it can go up to being $12. And so you can multiply your income 12 times. Or the last thing you can do, you can go out and start printing your own money and get rich off of printing your own money. But black folk have to learn how to play the game and how you get money, wealth, and resources, and understand the difference between wealth and income. See, there's a big difference in that. Income is important, but it's not as important as accumulating wealth. Income is is the fruits of your labor, but after you paid your bills, what's left is called wealth. What black folk lack is wealth. They don't have any wealth. They got 1/2 or 1% of wealth. They cannot compete. They cannot survive. They're not going to be able to make it unless they increase wealth. And you can't get wealth by working a job. Only way you can get rich working a job is if you're good at stealing. And we do not have any institutionals to cultivate black children. Now, you asked about why earlier. You asked me something about how do you treat young 5- and 6-year-old kids?
Oh, yeah. Melanie Payne said, how would you start children under 5 out on the path to financial enlightenment?
Well, you do the same thing as the Jew and take the other groups. They take the Jews, for instance. The Jews in their synagogues, they teach their kids starting in the early grades at 5 and 6 years of age. They tell them up front that you have to own a business. And they say, and remember when you own that businesses and in your communities, that whatever you want to buy in life, is you have to remember first and foremost that someplace a Jew is making it, manufacturing it, and selling it. That's who you buy it from. And see, we don't have that kind of a acculturation process in the black community. Or if you go to the Asians, they do the same thing. Asians will teach their kids, when they're very small, they get little switches to switch their legs up and punish them. And ask them, what do you want to do in life? There are 3 steps. They said, what's that? They said, first he whip his legs and tell him he has to go to school. And then when he goes to school, he must strive always to get straight A's in the place he can, get the best grades possible in school. And he does that all the way through school. He should not be satisfied just getting C's and D's or just getting by. He has to get A's. And they learn that. So when the kid graduates, then they say, now, after that's step 1 complete. When you graduate, you go out there and you look for a job. You look for a job, you're looking for a job in a specific field. And now watch this. Now, you look for a job first in a specific field. When you get that job, never stay in that job more than about 3 years. And then you learn a specific part of that job. You learn one aspect of it. If you learn in the stock room or inventory control, or you learn management. That's what you learn. You learn that. And after 3 years is up, you resign from that job and go to another industry, but the same industry basically. And you go into another section of it. This time you might go into marketing and sales. You learn that aspect of it and stay in that job no more than 2 to 3 years. So after about 5 years or 6 years, a typical Asian kid says, I've gotten the best grades ever since I was small. I've worked in this industry in one section. I've worked in another section, and now when I put those 2 sections together, I've now graduated. I'm ready to go to the 3rd level. The 3rd level means that they are now prepared to take a risk. They're going to go out and start their own business. That's how they get into it. And that's why if you look at the results in this country, 1 out of every 10 Asians are in business. 1 out of about every 35 whites are in business. 1 out of about every 54 Hispanics are in business. But only 1 out of 105 blacks are in business. You don't have to. You cannot transfer the wealth. You cannot change the paradigm because you don't have the structure in place to change the paradigm. You don't have anybody acculturating you. You don't understand what you're doing. You're in a capitalist society. Don't even know how to practice capitalism. There's no way you can do it. What you've been taught by your family and your home, your school, and your politicians and your civil rights leaders is go out and look for a job and work for somebody else until you get to be old, and then you retire and get a watch and go home and sit down and look at TV and drink beer. You can't make it. You can't compete. You're not going to make it.
Okay. Claude done told you. Now we're going back, get down this broadcast. You all had plenty of time to get your paper and pencil handy so you can take notes on what's about to be discussed here this evening. Why the so-called African Americans and the so-called black people cannot be citizens of the United States. My goodness. Are African Americans, so-called black people in the United States, victimized by denationalization? Whoo! Red day in the morning. Let me open up the phone lines back at my illustrious guest, Dr. Walter Williams, at area code 773. Dr. Walter Williams, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm here, Brother Tahaka.
Okay, hold on 1 second. Yes, sir. I hear you loud and clear. Brother Yoel, 312, you still with us?
Yes, sir. I'm here.
All right. Well, let me go to Dr. Williams first. Dr. Williams, could I depend on you to drop the bomb on this particular subject, and I would like to walk away and yield the floor to you so you can let us know.
Okay. Well, let me first start out by asking some questions. The first question I'm going to ask, who are the Africans in America? Who are we as an African people? Where did we come from? The next question, where did we come from? How did we get here? The third question, how did the name Black, African, Negro, and African Americans come about? Now you got to remember that every name that you call yourself, no matter what you call yourself, has to be attached to land, language, and culture. So therefore, searching the name Black, Negro, African American, I see no land attached. I see no no language. I see no culture attached to it. Well, there's culture attached to the name Negro, Black, and African American. By us being over in this country, they created, and by naming us Negroes and Blacks, they created a new African. So therefore, the new African in this country created a new culture, which that's the one that we are enjoying today among each other, and the whole world is enjoying our culture that we create over here in America. So the next question, why was an African born in America and not given citizenship? Why was an African who was born in America not given citizenship? The very important question. Every person that comes to America are given citizenship, but us, okay? Now, we are here in America, but we don't have citizenship. Others come in America. They're given citizenship. So we're going to investigate that as to why others are given citizenship and we born Africans in America are not given citizenship. So we're going to move on into another question. It's this: why have we been made the number one enemy of America? I mean, they treat us like we are the enemy of America. They treat us worse than they treated the Germans during World War II. Okay? At least the Germans who were captured didn't have to ride on the back of the bus. They were not lynched. They were not segregated. They were treated better than us Africans in this country called the United States of America. We haven't done anything wrong to America or against America as an African people. Flip side of that, America has done us in America many harm, many devastations, many killings and mistreatment. So therefore, America has done us wrong. And they have worked us without pay. They lynched us. They put us into slavery. They worked us and got our free labor out of our ancestors and so forth and so on. But yet still, they will not give us an apology for putting our ancestors into slavery. They won't do it. They will not give us reparations. They won't do it. They gave the Japanese reparations after putting them into penitentiaries or putting them into jails during World War II. And they gave them, after World War II was up, they gave them reparations and gave them an apology for doing just that. But us, when it comes to us, they don't do that. They refuse to do that. And so we need our recognition as a people, as human beings. They have degraded us. They have dehumanized us, etc., etc. They have done all these things to us. Okay? So now, with those questions being asked, who are we as an African people? Where did we come from? How did we get here? How did we get the names of Black and Negro and later on African Americans? So therefore, we're going to go back and find out answers to those questions. Now, first place I'm going to take you back to is how we got the name Black and Negro, and who the name Black and Negro was given to. So I'm going to take you back to 1091, when the Spanish, uncivilized people of Spain, asked, A-S-K, our ancestors who were living in the continent of Africa, in North Africa specifically at this time, known in history as the ancient Egyptians. They were living in the land areas that I'm going to name, living along the Mediterranean in North Africa. Mind you, during the time of antiquity, which is time that I want to take you back to find out this information to the questions and the answers to the questions that I've just asked and been asking and just asked. We want to find out where it all started. It all started with the ancient Egyptians in 1091, when the uncivilized Spanish-speaking people asked, A-S-K, I'm repeating this for a purpose, the ancient Egyptians, our ancestors, those Africans, living in the continent of Africa, living in North Africa, living along the Mediterranean border, in countries that is known today as Libya, Tunisia, Algeria, Morocco, and Mauritania. But back during that time, it was all one land mass. It wasn't divided up into countries, but in order for me to give you the information that you can understand, I'm using the names that are out there today. So they were asked by the uncivilized Spanish-speaking people to come to Spain to bring civilization to them. Our ancestors in 1091 used the countries that we know today as Morocco to do just that. Why Morocco? Because of the Strait of Gibraltar, an extended land. It's extended out into and connected with the Mediterranean. By taking that land called Morocco and using the Strait of Gibraltar, that gave our ancestors a closer travel time to reach the shores of Spain. In other words, at the end of the Strait of Gibraltar, you had to take a boat and travel 8.9 miles to get to the shorelines of Spain. Once that they got into Spain, the Spanish people called them black Moors or black Moors, talking about our ancestors, the ancient Egyptians, called them black Moors or black Moors. Why? Because they used the country that we know today as Morocco to come from Morocco through the Strait of Gibraltar to enter Spain. And once that happened, they were called by a name, Black Moors, which is a nickname given to our ancestors, the ancient Egyptians. Okay? Now, our ancestors set up civilization in Spain and so forth and so on. I won't go into that. I'm going to bypass that for now. But I want to make it understood and clear that the name Negro, black, is synonymous, one and the same. So if you say I'm a Negro, you say I'm black. You say I'm black, I'm a Negro. You say you're a Negro. Okay. So it's one and the same. Now, our ancestors, after being in Spain for 387 years, back and forth, North Africa into Spain, North Africa into Spain, 387 years. In 1445, these same Africans, known as the Moors, were asked to come into Italy to build the first or the second seat of Christianity, which had been moved out of Northeast Africa by John VIII in 1439 because of the imminent threat by the Ottoman Turks at that time. And they had 12 humanists to receive that seat of Christianity, which was the second seat. The first seat was in Northeast Africa, in Constantinople, today known as Istanbul, Turkey. And it was called the Church of Hagia Sophia. That's the world's first Christian church ever built on planet Earth. And that church, by being threatened, and the double-walled city of Constantinople was being threatened by the Ottoman Turks, John VIII in 1439 decided to move that seat, Turkey, into Europe, into Italy. So the 12 humanists, a humanist today will be an intellectual. These 12 humanists, 6 from the Curia in Florence, Italy, the word C-U-R-I-A means college in Florence, Italy, and 6 from the Curia in Ferrara, Italy. Now this is during the very beginning years of the European Renaissance era of the 15th and 16th century. Land was allotted to these 12 humanists by the authorities in Rome. They were given this land on the outskirts of Rome, near the catacombs, to build the second seat of Christianity, which was a church. They asked the Moors, who were in Spain for 387 years, back and forth from North Africa, Morocco, into Spain. For 387 years, they asked these African Moors to come into this area of the world to build a church, which would be the second seat of Christianity. And in 1445, the Moors, with that request, came and began to build St. Peter's Church, known as St. Peter's Basilica today, which is the second seat of Christianity. And they, the Moors also built the Sistine Chapel, where the Pope lives today. And they were over there for 33 years doing just that. And they were over in Spain for 387 years, back and forth from North Africa, Morocco, to Spain for 387 years. And this all came to an abrupt stop, meaning that in 1478, Ferdinand and Isabella, who was a ruling monarchs, Spain at that time, had allied with the Roman Catholic Church, and they allied together to get rid of the African Moors out of Spain and out of Italy, out of the Vatican. Now, they did this by way of what is known in history as the Spanish and Roman Inquisition. The Spanish and Roman Inquisition in 1478, which encompassed Spain as a country and the Vatican in Rome as part of the Inquisition to get rid of the Moors out of Spain. This is where it all started, and we're going to make our way over, coming to America now. So Ferdinand and Isabella hired a man by the name of Thomas de Guatemala to be the Inquisitor General for Spain as well as the Roman Catholic Church. Because again, the Roman Catholic Church had allied with the Spanish government. So Ferdinand and Isabella hired a ship owner by the name of Christopher Columbus. And he was hired. Now, mind you, this is one aspect of the Inquisition that was taking place in 1478. This other, the other part of the Inquisition to get rid of the Moors out of Spain, a lot of the Moors went into Europe, fled into Europe. Some went into Africa. For instance, in Mali, for instance, they came into Mali and set up living quarters, built buildings, and taught over in Mali and so forth and so on. And they were brought over here to America by way of Christopher Columbus using his ship to do just that. That's in 1492. So, in 1492, they came over here. Now, mind you, they had civilization had already been set up by our ancestors in the continent of Africa, in a country called Egypt, over 10,000 years ago during that time. So therefore, they were the only civilized people on planet Earth because they created and brought forth civilization through their culture. So that was the first civilized place on planet Earth was Egypt. Remember, civilization came out of the African continent via the country called Egypt by African people. It didn't come out of China. Civilization didn't come from India. It didn't come from Europe. It came out of Africa. So that was the first seat of civilization coming by way of the Africans living in the continent of Africa and by way of them living in a country called Egypt. When they were asked to come into Spain in 1091 by the uncivilized Spanish-speaking people, they came into Spain and set up the second civilization for the world. And the first Renaissance era for the Europeans. So now, here they are, over in this hemisphere, that we know today as the United States of America. And they, in 1492, they were brought over here, and they set up the third civilization over here. So from 1492 to the time of slavery, which is 1619, is the date given for the beginning of slavery in this country. That's a time period of, from 1492 to 1619 is a time of 127 years. No one talks about that 127 years that the ancient Egyptians, under the name of Moors in this country, was setting up civilization for this country, which is the third place on earth where they, the ancient Egyptians, under the name of the Moors, set up civilization. No one talks about that. They talk about 1619, the beginning of slavery. They never talk about the 127 years that our ancestors as Africans used that time to bring civilization to this hemisphere of the Americas. Now, just like the Spanish-speaking people and the Romans in Italy, in the Vatican, wanted to get rid of these Africans who brought civilization and who built the Vatican, get rid of them. Why did they want to get rid of them? Because they didn't want no one, the people on earth, to know that these Africans did what they did in Spain, did what they did in Italy for the Vatican, and building St. Peter's Church, known as St. Peter's Basilica, bringing civilization to the Spanish uncivilized people of Spain. They wanted to erase that, okay? They didn't want the world to know that. And they have done a very good job at doing that until now, until you hear my voice on this radio show. Letting you know what happened to us as an African people, letting you know what happened to our ancestors as an African people. And so by them erasing our history of what we did in the past for the Europeans, when they began to bring, in 1619, when they began to bring other Africans out of Africa in this hemisphere, these human beings, and forced them into slavery in this country, how did they get rid of the Moors? How did they get rid of these Africans who had set up civilization? First one, again, in the continent of Africa in a country called Egypt. Second one in Spain in 1091. The third one is in this hemisphere of the Americas in 1492. How did they get rid of these people? Now, they don't got what they wanted from them over here also. So now it's time to get rid of these Moors, these Africans. So what they did was they took the enslaved human being, African, that they brought out of Africa, brought them over here, and put the Moors under the name Negro, and put them under one umbrella, both under one umbrella, and they began to call them Negroes. Negro and black is synonymous, one and the same. So if you say I'm black, you're saying you're a Negro. If you say you're a Negro, you're black. Same thing. See? So now, that's how they got rid of the Moor. How they got rid of our ancestors, ancient Egyptians, under the name ancient Egypt. So people couldn't trace our history back to ancient Egypt. Okay? But see, they left a door open they didn't anticipate on. When they named us all under this one umbrella as Negroes, trying to get rid of the Moors for what they have done in Spain and in this country, we can retro back, use these names of black and Negro back to Spain, where they came from. See? And now this African American name is a new name that came up in the 20th century by people such as Jesse Jackson and so forth and so on, that we should call ourselves African American. James Brown said he's black and he's proud and so forth and so on. So that name had been changed from Negro, which is the same as black, to now you're black. So if you say you're black, you're saying you're nothing but a Negro. That's all. So now, here we are in this country under the umbrella of being black and a Negro. So now, while in this country, they had a revolution. Okay, the British was fighting the British that came over in this country to be to claim this country, to be a part of this country. They wanted to be independent from Europe, from the British government, and from England. They wanted to be independent of that. So they fought in a war that's called the American Revolution. Okay? And so the British gave up the idea of wanting to be rulers of this country. So they fought for the people like George Washington and others fought for the freedom to break away from the British monarchy, so forth and so on, and the British rule. So now, in 1787, after winning this Revolutionary War, break away from the British stronghold and government, and they had a convention that took place in 1787 to form, at that convention, a constitution that would give them guidance by way of so-called law or laws that govern this country under the Constitution. Now, this took place in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 1787. There was a polemic between the North and the South. During that time, they had taken, they were getting delegates from the count of the census in the North, count of the census in the South, meaning that who has the most population or who has the most people living in their territory will determine how many delegates that could be sent to this convention to represent themselves. So as you know, the North is more populated than the South. So therefore, the North normally have more delegates than the South would, because of the South is rural, the North is populated and by more people. So the question and the polemic was, why can't we count the Negro? They said, well, we can't count the Negro because he's not free. We can't count the Negro because he's a slave. Well, the South said, well, we got to do something with the Negro. We can't leave him out there. And you all have all and more delegates than we have from living in the southern states of the United States of America. So they decided to count the Negro as 3/5 of a human being. So that went into the Constitution that was drawn up in 1787, that we, African people, one, we're not citizens of this country because of our slave status. Two, we were not humans because of the 3/5 clause that they put into the, this worthless document called the United States Constitution. And then they went on and got whatever delegates that they had from the North, whatever delegates that they had from the South, and they started their convention, 1787, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Now, when this document was drawn up, mind you, 1787, we were enslaved as an African people. We were not counted in the census, only as 3/5 of humans. We were not given citizenship because of our status in this country as a slave. So therefore, we were not citizens then, 1787, and we're not citizens today, 2021. Let's go a little further. So people already said, well, no, I disagree with that. What about the 14th Amendment? Okay? The 14th Amendment says, in the first article of the 14th Amendment, says a person born or naturalized in the United States of America are thereby a citizen of this United States of America. Now, mind you, the first word in that, a person, if you look up person in the dictionary, a person is a human being. Remember now, the United States Constitution deemed us 3/5. I've never known a human being to be 3/5 of anything. See? So therefore, you cannot use the 14th Amendment. The 14th Amendment was adopted in 1868, but never enforced. They said, well, what about the 15th Amendment? Okay, let's go to it. So the 15th Amendment says a person who's born or naturalized in the United States of America has the right to vote. Okay? Back again. That person again. got to be, a person definition means a human being. We were not humans back then, according to the Constitution. Today, as I speak, we're still not humans, according to the Constitution. Okay? The 15th Amendment was adopted in 1870, but never enforced until 1865. Okay? Now, so, that's how we got in the United States Constitution. So now, let's move up and go into this area of conversation. The area that I want to bring you into at this time is into today's area where we're at today. Today, as I speak, they knocked down the voting rights bill. They created a civil rights bill. Now, the 14th Amendment says a person born in this country thereby is a citizen of this country. So I went over that. 15th Amendment says a person born in this country can vote. I went over that. So now, here we are, back again, as to why we cannot be a people to vote. Why? Because if we were citizens by way of the 14th Amendment, we were given voting rights activities before and during the 15th and before the 15th Amendment. Why did they pass a civil rights bill? We had citizenship under the 14th Amendment. Why did they pass a civil rights bill for one race of people? One race. Something to think about. If we had voting rights according to the 15th Amendment, why did they have to pass a voting rights bill for one race of people? That means that one race of people, the Negro, were not citizens when they passed that Civil Rights Bill 1964. Were not citizens when they passed the Voting Rights Bill in 1965. So today, we're still not citizens of this country because in order for us to be citizens, we would have to, or they would have to change the United States Constitution and rewrite it. Because as it stands now, it is a worthless document hanging on the walls in Congress. Worthless to us. Okay? So therefore, they would have to change it. They would have to declare that the Negro born in America are citizens of this country and therefore will be treated as such by way of citizenship, by way of voting, etc. It goes on to bring this to your attention. They have a new form of Jim Crow and slavery that they have put out here and put into practice in this. Okay? They have the jail system or the prison system. The prison complex as we know it today is nothing but a new form of a slave plantation. That's what it is. That's all it is. They have treated us unjust in this country. They have dehumanized us in this country. They have lynched us in this country. They have put us into slavery in this country. They have dehumanized us in this country. They have done everything imaginable to us as a people in this country. And we're still fighting to vote. Still fighting for justice in this country. So therefore, we're not citizens of the United States of America. And I just outlined most of the important reasons as to why we're not citizens of this country. So with that, Brother Tahaka, I'll yield the floor back to you.
Okay, Dr. Williams, that's fantastic, man. You gave us the foundation backdrop, and you brought us all the way up on this land. I'm going to open up Brother Yoel's number at area code 312. And ladies and gentlemen, you all listen to this show. The number to dial in is 319-527-6733. That's 319-527-6733. Press 1 on your phone. That'll give me an indication that you got something to say. Open up the phone line so you can get in. Area code 312. Brother Yoel, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm here.
All right.
All ears.
Yeah. You want to weigh on, what's your opinion on why African Americans and black people cannot be citizens of the United States?
I would start off by saying I would be offering my little 2 cents, okay, to the conversation. Since I'm not an authority on that, on the subject, I just offer what I've ran across in my little time on the planet. And I think the question that Professor Williams raised a minute ago was a question that we need to take a look at, and dig deeper and find out why we can't be. But I would say that to add to what he said, suggested by why we can't, we'd have to go back and look at a case of Dred Scott that might offer some interest in that, because remember what those famous words Chief Justice Taney said, something like this, let's put it, it says, well, let's put it like this. When the Dred Scott case, basically, Taney told us that we weren't citizens under the word according to the Constitution. So the question becomes, if he said that Dred Scott couldn't get no remedy there because he was not a citizen, then the question becomes, why? Why did he say a black man has no rights that a white man is bound to respect? Mm-hmm. So we need to investigate. He never really came fully out and said that, and not many people have read that entire case to find out why we can't be citizens of the United States according to what he says. He said the people of the Negro race were not intended to be included under the word citizen in the Constitution. So that was 1857, but then when you come up to 1868, the question then becomes whether or not that 14th Amendment makes us or pertains to us as a people. Like like it's suggested, because they say that we got it in. And I would have to ask this question, and everybody else, I would suggest that you have to ask your own self this question too. If that did, then why would we need a civil rights movement in the 60s? If we were citizens already, we already had rights. So why did you need to go out and get a new some new bill of rights or civil rights laws that pertains to specifically us? What was that, in 1964 the Civil Rights Bill was passed? Well, why do we need that if we are already citizens? We should have all the rights that the rest of the citizens of the country had according to 1868 in that 14th Amendment. So there's a lot of questions this stuff raises here, you know, that people really need to take a look at, because it may explain why we get treated the way we're getting treated in this country. The other thing is property, as you know, doesn't have any rights. It has only rights that its owner or its master gives it. Are we property? If you look in Black Law's Dictionary, 9th edition, it tells you, or it suggests clearly that you are still property, and that you are still slaves. So if you look at the definition in 9th edition of Black Laws, you will find that definition, it explains to you what slavery is, and then it goes on to explain. Wait a minute. Let me see. I'll tell you what. I'll read it for you. Here it says, slavery, a situation in which one person has absolute power over the life, fortune, and liberty of another. The practice of keeping individuals in such a state of bondage and servitude. It didn't say voluntary or involuntary servitude, but it says servitude, right? It says slavery was outlawed by the 13th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. Now, according to the original 13th Amendment, which had not 2 sections in it, but 22, there's a section in there that talks about Africans cannot be citizens. People of African descent cannot be citizens of the United States, right? But anyway, it says that according to the 13th Amendment, it abolished slavery, right? But then it gives a quote from one of our small hats, a Jewish professor from, I believe he was Washington State. He was a Jewish constitutional professor from Washington State. And he says about that same thing. Now, remember what I said about the 13th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution outlawed it, right? Okay, so he says, and they put this quote underneath the definition of slavery because it was important to the definition of slavery. They're not going to put anything in this Black Laws Dictionary that ain't really significant or relevant to the definitions that are in here. So what he said was slavery was a big problem for the constitutional makers. Those who profited by it insist on protecting it. Those who loathed it or hated it dreaded even more the prospect that to insist on abolition would mean that the Constitution would die or borning, meaning aborted or before it could be born, given birth, right? He said, so the framers reached a compromise of a sort. A compromise, he said. The framers reached a compromise of a sort. The word slave and slavery would never be mentioned, but the Constitution would safeguard the peculiar institution from the abolitionists. Now, did he say gotten rid of by the 13th Amendment? He didn't. That suggests to me that he's saying that you still slave. voluntary servitude. So, so when you look at all of that and you go into, it raises a whole lot of questions that we need to investigate closely and put under the microscope and decipher what is and what ain't. But there's a lot more to say about the subject, of course.
Okay. Well, Brother Joel, I'm going to take a little quick break, but when I come back, I have some very, very, a very important question for you and Dr. Williams. Now, this question that I'm going to ask you when we get back is a yes or no question. Just yes or no, and then, then we can proceed. All right, y'all hold on. We take a little quick break, and we will be right back. So y'all hold on a minute. We'll be right back.
Do you tell your children, like, do you give them the truth? Do you tell them how that this country feels about you, like my parents did? Or do you tell them a lie? And you just have them grow up in this bubble until that bubble is burst by some racist?
I just never understood. I don't think I just would ever understand why the color of my skin or where I'm from has effect on how other people would treat me.
There are a lot of good people in this world. However, the problem in the past is too many of those good people have been silent.
I realized I had to teach my son, you can't really just be a kid because you're a black boy. And then when he got older, you had to say, like, doesn't matter if you're right or wrong, just stay alive. Like, come home to me. Like, our goal is not about right or wrong or justice. This is what it means to be black in America.
I am Hawk Newsom. I'm the chairperson of Black Lives Matter Greater New York.
My name is Sydney. I'm 18. I was born and raised in Texas, Dallas, Texas.
My name is Charles Person. I live in Atlanta, Georgia. And I guess in my earlier life, I was a student activist, and I was also one of the original 13 Freedom Riders.
I'm Danielle Schutz from Colorado Springs originally. I'm the Chief Financial Officer for the Colorado Trust. I am the proud mom of two amazing children, Makai, who is almost 18, and Layla, who is 13.
Well, if you live in the South, especially the segregated South, you grew up in a culture where you knew where your place was. In other words, before I got out on my own and started doing things, I was given a list of do's and don'ts. In other words, I could read, so I knew white, if a water fountain says white, and one was for color. The same with restrooms and other indignities that was a part of segregation of Jim Crow. Well, the Supreme Court had passed two laws that said it was that all passengers in interstate commerce should be allowed to use all facilities there, and to remove all the signs that said white, colored, and so forth. We decided to test those facilities throughout the South, and we knew that the further south we got, the more difficult it may become. The idea was very simple. We were riding buses just like everyone else. We paid the same fare as everyone else, yet they treated us differently.
I'm a black woman, but I'm biracial, and I grew up in a home that I feel didn't prepare me to walk out into the world and be perceived as a black woman. Well, my son is going to engineering school more than just to be an engineer, but to really make way for other black engineers. So I'm really excited for him and proud of him. And it's a little scary to go to school where you know folks aren't going to look like you. And so I've just been doing my best to try to prepare him for that with my own experiences, because every room I walk into, people don't look like me either.
I think my parents gave me a proper education on blackness because they met at a civil rights rally. They were both activists. My aunt was a member of the Black Panther Party. My mother used to sneak out of her house to go to Black Panther meetings.
When my parents were my age, things were, of course, a lot different back then, where maybe you couldn't be as vocal. If you're being watched in the store or if they refuse service to you, I mean, that's just how it is. But, I would cause a whole riot if that ever happened to me. So, They didn't have cameras to pull out back then to record and expose people, but we do, so.
When they do reach driving age and when they're out at night, and we just know that if they're stopped, how to conduct themselves. I always tell them, have all your papers in order. Don't be fumbling for anything. Don't make any unnecessary moves, because it can maybe be construed as you know, you're reaching for a weapon. So these are things that you probably never have to consider telling your kids, but these are fundamental things that our kids have to realize, because they're just suspected of doing wrong even when they're not. You have some of the greatest kids in the world, sweetest kids in the world, and they're lumped into one big group, and they're treated so much differently than other kids.
My son turned 12, and I remember him saying, "Hey Mom, my friends and I are going to go ride our bikes to 7-Eleven. And I live in a predominantly white neighborhood. And I decided to let him go, and I said, you have to be back in 30 minutes. And then we had to have a conversation about what he was allowed to wear. He had on a hoodie at the time, a black hoodie, and I said, you need to take that off. You can't wear that to the store with your friends. And then I, of course, explained why I felt that way, and why he couldn't do that. And then I had to explain to him all the behaviors that he had to exercise in the store, and then I had to explain to him that your friends are not having this conversation with their parents right now. If anything goes wrong, they'll blame you. They're going to be suspicious when you walk in. And I had that conversation with him, and the second he walked out the door, I burst into tears.
You have society consistently telling you that you are less than, that your life doesn't matter, that your life has absolutely no value in the eyes of the world. So not only are you fighting normal mental stresses like, you know, paying rent or am I attractive or, you know, regular stuff, you're dealing with your black self-esteem, right? What's your black self-esteem? How do you feel about being black?
It's been a problem for such a long time, but now because of social media, it spreads so quickly. Everyone across the world has seen what's been happening in America, and it proves that this is more than politics, that this is more than just, oh, well, this is just happening in America, but this is the life of a black person or a person of color.
A protest is designed to upset people. If you were able to have a conversation with that person or that group, you would need to protest. But generally, you're talking to someone who is not interested, don't care, and won't listen.
There's an act of protest when I show up in the room, looking the way I do, or if I say, I'm going to wear my hair in this braid, even though I know that is seen as an ethnic hairstyle that someone might make a comment about. As a black woman, I'm going to talk about my son who is almost 18, and I'm going to say I'm scared for him. I don't want him to ever have to interact with the police. I'm going to say it in rooms where it's traditionally unacceptable.
We held a march in Times Square, you know, even though they tried to keep us out. We had about 25,000 people in Times Square who were celebrating solutions, and that was love and hugs. All the people were coming together promoting a society without oppression, and that was special. It was very special.
I did not wake up that morning thinking I was going to be a part of a protest. When you're in that moment, you know what you're doing is right. It's kind of crazy how you kind of actually kind of go into another place in your mind where it's like, okay, I might be getting tear gassed and, you know, have the threat of being arrested or being beat or whatever, but I'm alive, you know, I'm breathing. George Floyd couldn't breathe, but I'm breathing, so I'm here shouting for him. I'm here shouting for Breonna Taylor and everybody else.
I get letters all the time to some who felt that they were hopeless and helpless and too small, and they realized that none of those things are true, that they can make a change. And I think that's one of the differences. What's happening now is those people who in the past were silent or speaking up.
Things are going to change. Yeah, not permanently or perfectly, but I think we're going to move the needle in ways that we have not been able to do in a long time, because a lot of us have been having this same fight for a long time. But the allyship and the sharing of power and the sharing of voice that has come with this momentum is different.
I want to create a society where we do not need police. However, if you want to change the police force, two things are going to happen. Either they're going to be scared to harm somebody because of repercussions from the community, or two, the politicians will start having these officers prosecuted. They will create laws and jail cops who harm people. People are tired now. People are tired of dying, and they don't see any help on the horizon. So they have to be the change that they want to see in the world.
Lately now, just seeing everything, it's, you know, giving me a lot of anxiety, but I just feel like change is coming. And it's good to know that there's so many people on our side, people of so many different races. So I just think that just speaks so much volume. So it's scary, but you have to have some type of peace of mind that it'll be okay.
Okay, we back. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to open up the phone lines for my guests, and keep in mind the number to dial into the broadcast is 319-527-6733. 319-527-6730. Press 1 on your phone and give me an indication that you got something to say, and I will open up the phone line so you can get in. Brother Yoel, you still with us in area code 312, man?
Yes, sir.
All right, now,
I am.
Here's my question. And this is just a yes or no question. You don't have to elaborate.
Okay.
Yes
All
or
right.
no?
Come on.
Are you asking for freedom, justice, and equality in America? Yes or no?
Am I asking for freedom, justice, and yes.
Okay. Hold on a second. Let me open up the line for Dr. Williams. Dr. Williams, are you still with us?
Yes.
All right. My question to you is, yes or no, are you asking for freedom, justice, and equality in America? Yes or no?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Now, Brother Yoel, can you elaborate on why you are asking for freedom, justice, and equality in America?
Okay, I think that because we're here and the price that we paid to be here, maybe not myself, because I think I would rather go someplace else or go back home. But I think that for those people who want to stay here, then they should have the freedom that they done paid the highest price than anybody in the land has paid for their freedom, justice, and equality. And since they paid that price, then we should have that. We should have that.
So you're still asking for it?
I'm not exactly asking. I think we should have it. Not asking, we should have it. It should be demanded. We demand it. I'm demanded it. Put it like that. Freedom, justice, and equality right here. That trick word is asked there. I'm tired of asking, because you don't ask for something, and when you rightfully it rightfully belongs to you, you take it. If you need to. Or as Big Brother Malcolm said, get the word freedom out of your mind if you ain't prepared to die for
it. Okay. Dr. Williams, you say you're not asking for freedom, justice, and equality in America.
Correct.
Can you care to elaborate?
Yes. The reason why I'm not asking for that is because asking for it, you're not going to get. It's not designed. The Constitution is not designed to give you equality and justice. It's not designed for that. So therefore, some things have to be put into place.
Mm-hmm.
The white power structure who runs this country is going to have to tell us as an African people who we are and why they put us into slavery, why they dehumanized us, why they lynched us and did all the hideous things to us as a people. They're going to have to tell us the reason why they did that and tell us who we are as a people. It's because of the reasons why they did this. We did this to you because you are a descendant of the ancient Egyptians. We did this to you because we didn't want the world to know the legacy, the great legacy that your African ancient Egyptian ancestors left you as a people. We didn't want the world to know, as Europeans, we had nothing to offer the world. We have nothing of greatness that we can offer the world, show the world that coming from Europe, we Europeans are proud of to show you thus and thus and this and that. They can't do that. They have nothing there. So therefore, the nature of the European is to take, destroy, and tell lies and so forth and so on. So that's his nature. So, no, I don't expect, he's not capable of giving African people any equal justice and so forth and so on in this country. So they going to have to tear up that worthless document called the United States Constitution. They're going to have to tell us and the world who we are as a people, because they miseducated us in their school system. They have genocide our minds, and they have tried to destroy us as a people. They're going to have to tell the world what they did, and if they want, if we still want to be a citizen after that, then they're going to have to draw a new constitution and put us in as human beings and citizens. That's the way I see it, Brother Talk. That's the reason why I said what I said.
Okay. All right. Well, let me go and open up Brother Yoel's line again. Brother Yoel, you have anything else you want to add?
Well, I think the people we're dealing with are great tricksters, and they did a masterful job of dumbing us down, and at the expense of also collateral damage, dumbing some of their own people down, and making us all believe what they want us to believe. But now is the time when all of this is, the cover has been pulled off of this, and many other things right now, with information now coming into the age that we're in now, and information age and all of that. We never had more information available to us ever before, as much as we have right now. Your mothers did not, your fathers did not, your grandfathers them did not. And, you know, we got all this information out here now, and we can actually do some thorough investigation and determine whether or not we are or not. I think the misnomer is that when it says that the 14th Amendment, that when all persons born or naturalized in the U.S., the question becomes, where's the U.S.? Or United States, for that matter. And then it also opens up the door for what do you call I think it was the Supreme Court in back in 17 years ago, 2004, where they said that corporations are persons. When did that happen? And is that the same? When they made that decision, was that the decision coming from that 14th Amendment? And I think that what's missing in that 14th Amendment is that the people have to consent to your government. If they do not consent, then does that make you a citizen? You know, you never consented. None of us got paid any citizenship paperwork. They just tell you, well, you were born here and you're a citizen. Well, is that all it takes? Because they would certainly, if we look back at the so-called founding fathers, none of them were our fathers, so we wasn't in that room sitting down coming up with this Constitution, at least as far as I know anyway, sitting in that room, putting together the work that they did with respect to the Constitution and all that kind of stuff. We didn't have anything to do with that. And even when you do that, that's no more valid than me and you sitting in your house, in your front room, and we coming up with a Constitution and then making everybody else a party to it. How can we do that except we get their what? Consent. Even the Creator don't do that. He allows you to consent. You know, to even his rules. You got free choice. The Creator don't say you got to do it my way, your higher self. You got choices. Is that choice gone because you were born somewhere? Once again, Big Brother Malcolm says what? A cat will have kittens any place that is dark. You will have kittens in an oven, but it don't make them biscuits. So you know, how do you make somebody a party to something that they didn't have anything to do with its creation, especially us. That's it right now.
Okay. All right. Dr. Williams, back to the statements that you was making about the citizenship of the United States. A lot of people don't know what denationalization is all about. The United States operates on a continuous series of contracts under what's commonly referred to as contract law. And what I need them to do, because I'm the answer my own question that I gave you guys, are you looking for freedom, justice, and equality in America? My answer to that question is no. And at the same time, and I'm not going to put you guys out there to answer this one, but the next thing is, what are you prepared to do about it? Now, the word is prepared. We already know that I ain't asking. But what am I prepared to do about it anytime that is infringed? What kind of resources do I have? What kind of, okay, we had, to give you an example of what I'm talking about, we have a situation down here in Brunswick, Georgia, where three, a father and a son brutally murdered a young man jogging through an all-Caucasian community. And it started a big uproar. The Black Panther Party down there on the ground with AR-15 machine guns out there in broad open daylight. And the whole town is in an uproar. But now as far as me and my organization is concerned, we didn't go there. We simply quietly watched the situation unfold. But the greatest focal point in your life is when preparedness and opportunity meet. Because when we come, we ain't asking. But nevertheless, let's move on to the next situation that I want to talk with you guys about. Dr. Williams, can you give us a little bit more in-depth detail about us not being citizens in the United States, just about the United States. Could you give us a little bit more, man?
Yes, okay. Well, I'm going to go back to what Yoel was talking about in 1857 with the head of the Supreme Court, Justice, which was Roger Brooks Taney. What he said, now these are his words now. He said that Negroes were not citizens of the United States of America, so therefore could not bring suit in federal court in the state of Missouri that was handed down in the Dred Scott decision. Second thing he said, that Negroes had no rights that a white man had to respect. Third thing that he said, that the Negro was so far inferior that he should not ever be allowed to associate with the white race. Okay? Now, that's coming from the Supreme Court. The first two statements that he made is still in force. We have no rights in this country that he has to respect. That's the reason why we've been shot down in the streets like a dog. That's the reason why women are being killed and murdered by white policemen and raped and so forth and so on. And nothing happens because they know that we have no rights that they have to respect. Because that's coming from the Supreme Court, the highest court in the United States of America. It's the Supreme Court. So those are still in force until you take and destroy the United States Constitution as it's written today, until they announce to us and the world who we are and what they did to us and why they did it to us. They stole our legacy. Why did he put us into slavery? This is the answer. Because we, as an African people, are descendants of the greatest people that's ever walked this earth, known in history as the ancient Egyptians. That's the reason why they put us into slavery. Okay? They wanted to take our legacy that our ancestors left us, the ancient Egyptians, and they stole our legacy. They walk around as if they own it, that they are the ones that created civilization. Okay? No. Until they tell us who we are, apologize to us, give us reparations, pay us for what they've done to our ancestors, apologize to the world, and expose themselves as to the deeds and the unjust treatment that they have given us in this country. Mind you now, during the time of slavery, I'm going to bring this out, all Africans living in this country, called the United States of America, were not enslaved. Again, all Africans living in this country during the time of slavery were not enslaved. You had 500,000 or more free men and women living right here in the United States of America during the time of slavery. To prove my point, you go back, I refer you back to a movie called 12 Years a Slave. That young man lived in New York. He had a wife and 2 children, had a family. He was a school teacher, and he met at a restaurant with 2 white men who put drugs in his drink and drugged him and took him out of the state of New York and took him into a slave state and put him on a plantation for 12 years. So that proves to you, one proof anyway, all Africans were not slaves in this country during the time of slavery. The second is that you take during the time of in 1867, the time when they elected men to Congress after 2 years being out of slavery. Okay, and those men, if they were enslaved on plantations, they would not be able to read and write. And they were free men, and they were elected to to the United States Constitution during the time, after the time of, because of the Reconstruction period. So you don't take nobody from a slave plantation and put them in Congress. These are learned men. They were free during the time of Reconstruction. See, so the Reconstruction lasted from 1867 1776. And what broke that up and destroyed Reconstruction was the coming of the Ku Klux Klan in 1922 in Tennessee. They're the ones that broke it up. Okay? So those are some of the things I want to bring out. So
okay, Dr. Williams. Well, what I'm going to do is take another little commercial break, and when we come back, we'll continue. So y'all hold on a minute. Keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, the phone lines are open at 319-527-6733. We're going to take a little quick break, and we'll be back, and we'll go on to the next phase of this broadcast. Okay? So y'all hold your hat club.
When you hear that word, what do you think of? Money? Compensation? An apology? Righting a wrong? Or maybe just, huh? The topic of reparations has come up a lot, especially in the lead up to the 2020 presidential election. About America's original sin, slavery. So what exactly are we talking about here? Simply put, reparations is the act of making amends for a wrong or an injury committed toward an individual or a group of people. Reparations for slavery is the idea that some form of compensation needs to be made to the descendants of the 4 million Africans that were trafficked and enslaved in the United States. Now, I can already hear some of you say, but wasn't that over 200 years ago? And you are right. But that doesn't mean African Americans don't face repercussions from it to this day. So, this past June, Congress held its first congressional hearing to discuss Bill H.R. 40. H.R. 40 would authorize $12 million to study and develop reparation proposals. The study will focus on the appropriate remedies for slavery and discrimination, and the impact of these factors on living African Americans. The bill also considers a national apology from the U.S. government, something that to date has never happened.
Maybe the best way to say what we've been through, they should apologize.
In due time, we do need an apology.
Yeah, I think they should actually.
Now, some of you might be thinking, it's about time. While others might say, why should we have to pay for something that happened so many years ago? Well, time to open your history books and try not to fall asleep like you did in AP U.S. history. American slavery lasted almost 250 years. If you count the nearly 100 years of Jim Crow segregation that followed, then that means officially sanctioned racial oppression
actually lasted over 300 years.
This created a significant wealth gap between black and white Americans that still exists
today. The federal government first considered it in 1865, when newly freed black people were promised up to 40 acres of land.
Hence the bill named H.R. 40. Get it?
Anyway, after President Lincoln was assassinated, this special field order was overturned by President Andrew Johnson. He decided to return the land to the planters who owned it instead.
Like, dude, seriously?
Fast forward to 1989, former Democrat Representative John Conyers Jr. of Michigan introduced legislation to discuss what reparations might actually look like.
He introduced this bill every year for nearly 30 years. But despite his best efforts, it never went anywhere
until this June,
when the bill received its first ever congressional subcommittee hearing.
Under the new sponsorship of Texas Representative Sheila Jackson Lee.
Supporters of reparations believe it would not only help make amends for slavery and segregation,
but also for its cruel and crippling legacy. But opponents of reparations believe America shouldn't be held responsible for her forefathers' sins. One vocal opponent is Republican and Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell.
He told reporters, "We've tried to deal with our original sin of slavery by fighting a civil war, by passing landmark civil rights legislation. We elected an African-American president. I mean, problem solved, right?"
Many supporters of reparations don't blame white Americans today for slavery,
but they do recognize that years of oppression have prolonged this hierarchy, where whites have privileges that people of color don't.
Although there are people like Senator Bernie Sanders and former President Barack Obama who oppose the idea that money alone can address slave reparations, they do support investing in marginalized communities.
So, what do you think will be a just compensation for African Americans?
Land. In our wealth.
Money.
An apology letter. That's it.
More and more questions will be raised about how reparations would work,
who would benefit, and how it would be funded.
But no matter which side of the conversation you land, we can all agree that this is one well worth having.
I'm Emily.
I'm Stephanie. I'm Shannon.
I'm
Real estate is booming today. But one thing I learned a long time ago about mortgages and foreclosures. The real estate market goes in cycles, up and down. The best thing to do is get out of that type of situation early. The U.S. corporation is still operating in a bankrupt state today. Make no mistake about it. When it comes to your home, the bank has no skin in the game. When you sign for your home, it was paid for. Learn how to do that. The IRS is a private-for-profit corporation. Learn how to deal with that. Go to TahakaDebtElimination.org. That's TahakaDebtElimination.org. How do you discharge debt? How do you write it up? What do you do? Learn how to do that. Contact me, Tahaka Amana El Bey. Go to TahakaDebtElimination.org. Peace.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. And Dr. Williams, you still
Yes.
with me?
Yes.
Okay, my next question to you, man, why do you think African Americans or black people haven't been given reparations when everybody else is?
Because, first place, that's the nature of the European. That's a deep-rooted ideology that this European has. And he doesn't want to give reparations to the people that he mistreated and enslaved in this country. Why? Because they are the descendants of the ancient Egyptians. See, if he gives reparations, he's got to tell why he's doing this, and he don't want to tell the world why or us why he's given us reparations. Why did you enslave a human being of African descent in this country in the first place? why did the so-called founding thieves, who were nothing but inferior, uncivilized, spiritually dead savages who did that dastardly deed to us as a people, they don't want to admit what they did. So they are holding on to that. Because if they did that, like I mentioned before, then a whole lot of worms will come out of the ball. And they don't want that to happen. So they keep us off balance and frustrated, giving us an illusion that we are citizens of this country when we're not. So if they tell us that we're not citizens of this country, then the next one, why did you put these African people into slavery? Why don't you apologize to them? Why don't you give them reparations? Now, during World War II, they took the Japanese who had bombed Pearl Harbor, rounded up all the Japanese in America, and incarcerated them. At the end of World War II, they let them out, and they gave them reparations. Okay? And another thing I want to bring out, they gave a religious group who are calling themselves Jews and Israelis, they gave them reparations, or they gave them money for them being caught up in the Holocaust. Okay, so they gave them money. They apologized to what happened to them. They created a state, a legal state for them. And by creating this illegal state, which is called Israel today, they give that country $1 billion a year. That's the standard stipend that they give that country. Plus, all during the year, they're giving this illegal state of Israel money. They have protected them against foreign invasions. They have given them bombs, guns, bullets, and so forth. They have allowed them to set up and become the fourth largest nuclear force in the world, and the third largest manufacturer of small arms. So they did all this for a religious group now, but not for us. You see? Why? Because, like I said before, they put us into slavery to steal our legacy that our ancestors left us. A brother right here in Chicago asked my late wife, Arnetta, he asked her, why did the white race put us into slavery? And the answer's back to him, because we are descendants of the ancient Egyptians. And I thought that was an excellent answer. And I still think that's an excellent answer. And the reasons why they did that, they don't want us to know who we are. If we find out who we are, then white supremacy is over with. Once you claim your descendancy as ancient Egypt and the ancient Egyptians as our ancestors, then white supremacy is over with. You got to remember this, Brother Tahak, is this. The ancient Egyptians are the ancestors of the American Negro. I'm going to repeat that again. The ancient Egyptians are the ancestors of the American Negro. See? So once you claim ancient Egypt, it's over with. White supremacy dead, because they cannot equal what our ancestors brought to the world of humanity. The only thing they brought to the table in the world of humanity is lies, deceit, murder, injustice, corruption, greed, terrorism, militarism, sexism, racism, slavery, exploitation, evilness, hypocrisy, genocide. They brought lying and they brought stealing and cheating to the table. They brought death, disease, drugs, and disaster to the world of humanity. And they brought bombs, guns, and bullets to the world of humanity. They brought plunder, violence, rape, hate, white supremacy, white superiority, religion, mythology, and perverted scholarship. That's all they've done. They have terrorized this whole entire planet called Earth and every human living therein, including themselves. So you're talking about a savage who's uncivilized, who's inferior, who's spiritually dead, that our ancestors, including the Negro, has been trying to teach this white man and show this white man how to be civilized. He refused to be civilized. He don't understand what civilization and what being a civilized and a civil person means. He don't understand that. Okay? That's foreign talk to him. That's foreign talk to his nature. That's not in his nature or his DNA for that. Okay? So therefore, he is the way he is. And now we've been trying to teach him for 2,353 years how to be a civilized human being. By demonstration, by teaching, everything. But he don't get it. So you have to expose him for what he is and expose his nature for what his nature is about. Now, I'm not going to say that all white people have a dead spirituality. Not all. I'm holding out. I'm leaving the door cracked for the ones that I call good white folk. Okay? But they come packaged in a very tiny package to give them that credit. So that's what I have to say about that, Brother Tucker.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Williams. I'm going to go ahead and open up Brother Yoel's line again and see what he has to say about this reparation thing. Brother Yoel, are you still with us?
Yes, sir. I'm still with you.
All right. Same question. Why?
Well, I think to add to what Professor Williams just said is, lastly, he don't want to pay you. You know, he just don't want to pay you. Because of all the reasons he just named, he don't want to pay you. That would be too much like right, as they say, you know, to pay you for the damages they did, especially after he intended to rob you of all those things that Professor Williams just named there. You know, he now that he's been found guilty of that, you know, then he don't want to pay. So that's and then the other thing is if you go into a court of law with it, you have to make a claim, and if you make a claim in a court of law, then you have to go in your proper person. You know, you can just you not. Don't go in just claiming your ancient Egyptian ancestry, but you have to put that on that paperwork that they're going to have you to fill out going in there, saying who you are, saying, I'm here, my proper person, and this is what I want. I want $30 million for each one of us, descendants of slave, or whatever you want to say, and and however you're going to work that, that will all be worked out, but you got to go in your proper person. And that means you're correcting your status right now, because right now you don't even know that you're still property. So you can't take a claim against your master now again because you're property. That's what Margaret Garner, in another case that happened, I think, in 1856, where she ran off from her plantation with her children to escape slavery, and they caught her, and when they caught her with her, she was going to kill her children and herself rather than go back in slavery. So what she attempted to kill one. I think one or two of the children died, but she didn't get a chance to kill them all. But when they caught her, they was trying to charge her with, they attempted to charge her with murder. But they found out that if they charge her with murder, she's property. You can't try property for murder. You have to try her owner, her master. So they dropped that because he would have to be put on trial for that. So right now, so that means that we would have to go in our proper persons, and if we're going to bring that claim, and we have to claim our ancient Egyptian ancestry to bring that claim. And by doing that, you put yourself in a proper status, and I think nationality has a lot to do with it. So nobody is calling you ancient Egyptians right now. Well, Professor Williams and a few more people maybe out there, nobody's calling you that, and nobody's looking at you in that way. They all looking at you as property, Negro, black, and colored, and African American. So you can't take that to court. You have to claim that nationality. If that's what you want to be, and that's who you say you are. And you are who you say you are.
That's the reason why I have to. That's the reason why, Brother Earl, I've always said, now is the time that we can stand before the world and announce who we are and announce who our ancestors are. Theodore P. Ford said in his book, God Wills a Negro, 1939, said these words. He said that the ancient Egyptian vanished and the Negro appeared. The ancient Egyptian vanished and the Negro appeared. So we're going to have to tell the world who we are, because the European is not going to do that. He's going to continue to tell lies on us. He's going to continue to dehumanize us. He's going to continue to diminish us as human beings. Okay? So therefore, we're going to have to step up to the world podium and make that announcement and tell the world that we're here to take back our legacy that the European has stole from us. That's the reason why they tried and make this country a replica of ancient Egypt. That's the reason why you see all over America signs of ancient Egypt. Okay? They got two cities named Memphis, Tennessee. Memphis in Egypt during antiquity was the capital of Egypt. Then you go down in Cairo, Illinois, where Cairo, Egypt was a place in Egypt during the time of antiquity. And you look all over this country, you can see artifacts and art and symbols and things that is replicating ancient Egypt. There's a book out by Tony Browder called Egypt on the Potomac, whereby in this book he's taking you all over Washington, D.C. to show you what the European has done, trying to replicate ancient Egypt. The European has put on the dollar bill that you carry around in your pocketbooks, wallets, and purses every day, the greatest monument that has ever been built by man. And that monument is the Great Pyramid. On that dollar bill and all of its currency is a seal of America, which is an eagle. T-Bone Walker came out during World War II with a song called Stormy Monday. He said, the eagle flies on Friday, and Saturday I go out to play. So that eagle right there symbolizes ancient Egypt. But it's in America today. Why did he do that? Why couldn't he make this country like someplace in Europe somewhere? Why? Because there was no place in Europe that he could show you of greatness. That was, Europeans do not have a known beginning history. That's the reason why they put mythology in this place of human history. We, as an African people, our ancestors left us an immortal legacy whereby we don't have to use mythology to tell the world that our ancestors lived on earth. They left artifacts, art, literature to do just that. So that's what I have to say about that, Brother Talker.
Okay. Well, my position is on the reparation thing. I look at it like this, because the door is wide open for us to claim our nationality, and I, judging family members and close associates and stuff like that, they just sit back and see what's gonna happen. I tell them, I say, well, I tell you what, don't worry about a thing. No matter what goes on or what happens with you, Jesus gonna save you. But in the meantime, just leave me alone, because I ain't with it. Jesus, God, none of that, because you cannot kill your enemies and worship as gods at the same time. You know for a fact who it was that done what they did to you and your people. You know that. And you mean to tell me you're willing to walk around and ask somebody for freedom, justice, and equality on your own land? That don't make no sense to me. Now, I have to admit, I have the advantage over a lot of people. A lot of people don't have the kind of skills and training that I have from the people that train me with what they train me with. The biggest hurdle that I had to get over was belief. And I was able to get over that. I don't have the, I don't do and react to situations and stuff like what people call, well, normal people. We're going to shoot your child down the streets, then we're going to do an investigation, and we're going to put it in the court and let the system. No. You got the wrong kind of animal. Wrong kind. But anyway, I would like to move on to something else. I don't want to go all down in detail about all that kind of stuff. I was last night, yesterday evening, I had a friend of mine, and I think I told y'all about one of our friends was going to have it was his birthday. And he decided that, well, look, we're gonna take him out
to the birthday party. I said, well, look, let's all get together and go over here to Jamaican restaurant, where our people at, and we can, just enjoy ourselves. But no, I want to go out here out by the airport where we can go. They got this nice restaurant out there, and you can sit out there on the porch out there, and you can eat your food, you can watch the game, and all that at the same time. I said, well, okay, well, whatever y'all want to do, I said, we'll do that. So, but now when we get out there, we sitting out there, and but there's this big table over there to the left, all white folks. And we come in there, and we went over there to the other table. We sit down, there's three of us, and place the order and everything. All of a sudden, because they was eating and drinking and drinking beer, and all of a sudden, one of them hollered out, "My nigga!" Now keep in mind, I told my buddy, I said, look, let's go over here. Well, we ought to go and eat it, but he wants to go out there. So he get mad, and he jumps up, and before I know it, I'm thinking he's finna go in the restaurant and go to the bathroom or something like that, but he done went around the side and went in the truck and got the 40 out the truck, and I put it up on his shirt, and he come back and then sit in his chair and turn the chair all the way around the face of white folks. Say it again. I said, oh my goodness. No, man, no. We don't do it like that. That's not the way to do it. But anyway, yesterday, me and him, he come back, he said, man, I ain't doing nothing, I'm off of work and stuff, man, what you doing? I said, well, I'm not doing nothing, I'm relaxing right now. He said, well, I'm going to come out and pull up, we sit out there and we talk. I said, okay. So he come out and he pull up. He done went in from a brand new high technology pump shotgun, and then he done bought a brand new AR-15 rifle. I mean, this thing holds over 30 rounds. I said, well, man, why are you buying all these weapons? He said, well, I'm just buying them. It just, I had nothing to do. I just buying them. I said, okay, all right. I was scared to ask him, was he planning on going back over to the restaurant again? Because I ain't going with you. But anyway, it is amazing to me how our people respond to things and handle situations and stuff. And instead of going on, and the situation exists, go ahead and put things in place in advance, so when something happens, you ain't got to put in all that effort and all that energy. Let me ask you something, Brother U.L. You remember the movie Superfly? You remember that?
Yes.
Played by Ron O'Neal.
Yes.
And all the politicians and all them, they all up in the drugs and all this right here. And when we get down to the end of the movie, they finna try to take him out, the mayor and the police and all that stuff. But he told him, he said, let me explain something to you. He said, I got a contract on my head that I put there. He said, if I choke on a chicken bone, your whole family die. You remember that part?
Mm-hmm. Slightly, yeah. I remember some of that. Going back a long way, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So my question to the listening audience is, you got children, you got grandchildren, you got sisters and brothers, you got mothers, fathers, uncles, and aunts. What have you put in place already, in the event that one of them is injured or harmed in any kind of way, what do you already have in place right now? Because if you got everything you need in place, you ain't got it. You don't have to get upset. You don't have to raise your voice. Only thing you want to know, who done it and where they at. It don't matter where they at. They can be in the police department. It don't matter. They can be in the church. It don't matter. You understand what I'm saying? I don't want to get all excited and stuff, but I'm a firm believer that the greatest focal point in your life is when preparedness and opportunity meet. Firm believer in that. If we get, a lot of us, we go and get 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, $40,000, and then we go out and buy a brand new Cadillac. You got children, you got grandchildren, you got sons and daughters, you got mothers and sisters and brothers, you got all these things. They need protection. They need to be protected. And when I was, I went in my teens. I had to be, I think I was 12. I think I was 12 years old. Might have been 11, 12 years old. I had a little cousin. And they had moved on the same side of town that I moved on. And he came and told me, he said, man, this is this white boy. And he's a grown man. And he be messing with us. I said, dude, I said, what you did to him? I said, we don't do nothing to him. He said he don't like ends. I said, really? Where we at? I said, he over there, he be over there, up under the place thing over there. I said, okay, well, let's go over there. So we went over there. And sure enough, he's still a grown man. That joke was about 6 foot tall. You see, you. I said, man, what's going on with you and the little cousin here? Yeah, I don't owe you no explanation. I do anything I want to do. The hell are you? And he said, and he reached to grab me, but when he did, I come around with a brick and hit him in the head. And he fell flat on the ground. I said, come on, kid, let's go. Ambulance, rescue unit, police, all that. And the other little children out there, they say, they went in that house over there, but nobody came to open the door. Nobody came to knock on that door. Nobody. And it all just went away.
Let's, go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
So the question is, we talk about reparations, we talk about slavery, we talk about citizenship, we talk about racism, we talk about being mistreated, we talk about our children being gunned down in the streets, but what are you prepared to do about it? That's go ahead, Dr. Williams.
No, I was just saying that I'd rather stick on our subject. We're talking about, well, we're not citizens of the United States of America as African people born in the United States of America. We don't want to get into the violence of confrontation with anybody. We don't want.
I do. I do.
Okay. Well, that's where I leave you.
Okay. All right. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, the number to dial in is 319-527-6733. Press 1 on your phone, and that'll give me an indication that you got something to say. The topic is why African Americans and so-called black people cannot be citizens of the United States. So we rolling right along, and I'm just putting all the peanuts on the table. And citizens, I ain't asking about no citizens. I'm not looking for a validation about nothing. All you have to do with me is just put it on the paper that I'm something else, and I'll take it from there. You know, if you don't violence, and then you do the wrong thing, but once you know what to expect when you do. But nevertheless, Brother Yoel, you have anything else you want to add?
Well, let me just say that I think something else that needs to be investigated is that the year that I guess that was the 14th Amendment was passed, 1868, whether or not that in fact actually gave us citizenship, or there's another scenario out there that suggests that gave to the persons of corporations, the corporations called persons citizenship and not people, you know, so that needs to be investigated to see whether or not it meant corporations that the Supreme Court 17 years ago said was considered persons, or because there's a difference in law between persons and natural persons. Natural persons are people, and persons can be a corporation, of course. So which one did this 14th Amendment pertain to? So if you're saying we were offered that, and even if we were offered that, again, the question becomes, in my mind, why did you need the civil rights, another civil rights bill to be passed if you were citizens under the Constitution and during the 1878 passing of that passing of the 14th Amendment. Now, in 1864, supposedly the 13th Amendment was passed. There is a question of the 13th Amendment, and the 13th Amendment we're looking at today, is it the original 13th Amendment, or is there another 13th Amendment that is missing that had 20 sections in it instead of 2? And is that where Roger Taney got his notion from? Because in Section 12 of that 13th Amendment, the original one, with the 20 sections, it says that the trafficking of slaves with Africa is hereby forever prohibited on pain of death and the forfeiture of all rights and property of persons engaged therein, and the descendants of Africans shall not be citizens. So, you know, what is it? Were you citizens or not? I think we raised a lot of questions.
Well, for one thing, the way I look at it, because I have to deal with it on a daily basis with people all over the United States. First of all, we have to understand that the United States is a conglomerate corporation. And according to the rules of that game, the only thing that a corporation can do business with is another corporation. So what they do with us is turn us into corporations so they can do business with us. So that's why every time you get a letter in the mail with somebody that you're doing business with, your name is in all capital letters. The courthouse, the banks, driver's license, social security card, the whole gamut. All that's a straw man. He owns everything. The living, breathing man don't own nothing. He's got to take control of the assets by taking control of the straw man. So just like you said earlier about being in your proper person, proper persona, you're absolutely correct. But you still, along with this knowledge of being able to do this stuff, I still think if a man can do this, he still has to have specialized training and skills to defend himself and protect himself, and always remember that anytime you're approached by a man that has a gun, your life is in danger, you have to defend yourself. We got a caller with his hand raised at area code 864. 864, you on the air. Tell us who you are, where you're calling from, what's your question or comment. 864. Can hardly hear you, man. I can hardly hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it sound like you, Jackson County. Are you on a speakerphone? Can you get off the speakerphone so we can really hear you?
No, I'm actually driving right now, so I might have to just, if you can't hear me, it might be feedback from the vehicle.
I can't hardly hear what you're saying.
Yes, sir.
Tell them to pull
I
over.
apologize.
Hey, you pulling over? Okay.
Yeah, can you all hear me now? Can y'all hear me now?
we hear you pretty good now. Yeah, we hear you now.
Okay. No, I was just basically, I checked out the topic of the show.
Oh, okay.
You know, and it seems like I'm not sure where everybody is in this, you know, where they stand, but I know a lot of us as black folks in America, we have become diehard patriots. I'm going to say patriots for America. And it's something that's very funny because even when you're talking about opening up a think tank to go abroad, whether it be going back to Africa or going to wherever it is, you know, you have black folk, Africans here in America that have become so used to this prison mentality that they gonna almost kill you or ridicule you for attempting to. And I think that part and that aspect within the conversation is a definite aspect that shows how much of slavery is still embedded into our thinking. You know, whenever we have this conversation, the fact that we can't bring this conversation up at the dinner table when our families come around, that shows the complete disconnect. We can't even now begin to talk about opening up connections with our brothers and sisters whom we have become detached from on the continent. You understand? Because I know I have made some great relationships with some brothers and sisters on the continent that, you know, where Europeans go back to Africa now and they've been doing it for quite some time, to get resources that some of our brothers and sisters have growing right in their backyard. So I think when we're talking about where we are there, and rather than, you know, there's been this whole onslaught against our master teachers, against those scholars that have come to prove and show who we are as it relates. But now I'm hearing a rhetoric where you got Negroes going around down talking Marcus Garvey. You got Negroes going around talking about they ain't black, they ain't African, they are anything except for you. They want you to call and refer to them of, you know, of any name outside of Africa. Right? It's okay to be a nigger, it's okay to be a bitch, it's okay to be a hoe, it's okay to be a thug, a killer, a dog. But let me call you an African king. Let me go that far. Call you African king and queen. Now that might create some show enough discord. And I can remember Dr. Francis Cress Wellsing oftentimes, you know, utilizing her knowledge to kind of show what we were mentally. Well, we will refer to ourselves as scum rather than looking at ourselves. And I think at the end of the day, when you're talking about exit strategies, that's why we are looking at our exit strategies like from a slum type mentality. You know, we thinking that, hey, we just want to be here and protect the white man. I just want to fight for this is my country. I tell you what, we're going to have to learn how to fight for this mug, you understand? Because these crackers over here is them crackers. You know, I would say, you know, let's go somewhere else. Let's look at going somewhere else.
Well, let me ask you a question. Why do you think African Americans and black people, so-called black people in this country, can't be citizens of the United States?
Well, you have to look at what the United States is and what that represents, right? And it's almost as equivalent to saying, well, hey, why won't the NFL ever accept baseball teams, right? Because it was never made that way. It was never created to now have those baseball teams incorporated into what the NFL was doing, right? So even in the outline, the body, the governance, the politics behind America, they will never point to, well, deeming the African, you know, a citizen or giving the African his just due. Why? Because this America was built upon the backs of our ancestors and in the blood of our ancestors. So whenever you start to open up that can of worms, that's when the cracker is gonna have to have some show enough reconciliation, and he's gonna have to overturn all his shit. But he's never gonna be that. So therefore, he's gonna always give us bits and pieces and allow us to be at his table rather than allowing us our own table and our just due. They're always going to spit in our face, so therefore they're only going to, you know, they're going to keep us at this place that we allow ourselves to be at.
All right. Well, let me ask you this: what question do you have for our guest, Dr. Walter Williams? He's on the air listening to you right now. What question you got for him?
The question that I have, and I'm definitely familiar with the brother Dr. Walter Williams. My question is repatriation versus staying here in America. What does true liberation for the African look like as it relates to those two, and relating to exit strategies? So when we're talking about exit strategies, organic exit strategies for us as Africans, where is it that we see ourselves, and as it relates to the confinement that we find ourselves in now?
Repatriation. Repatriation. How you say it, brother?
Repatriation. As it relates to repatriating, going back to Africa, what does that look like? And how can we make that work as it relates to us being on this American soil that we've been here for so long and we still don't like it? Our ancestors have been hung, we've given our blood to build this country, and we still don't like it. Or we either trying to swallow. So how is it that we use repatriation as a tool for our liberation and our come up? Even if it be that we are staying here, some of us are staying, some of us are going back to the continent, or do you feel that repatriation is something that's not sustainable for the genuine come up for us as Africans?
Okay. Dr. Williams, you understand the question?
Well, sort of, not fully, but anyway, with me understanding what he is saying, the answer I give to him is this: we have no place or no country in Africa that we can go back and claim. Nigeria is full of Nigerians. Ghana is full of Ghananese. Mali is full of Malians. So we have no place in the continent of Africa to go back to, because the only place that we have to go back to in Africa is that you have to claim ancient Egypt. That's the missing link in the chain of African diaspora. We're the missing link in that chain. So all the other countries in Africa are occupied by the indigenous Africans living in those places. But we, living in this country, we have no place in Africa. That's the reason why they moved ancient Egypt and brought it over in this hemisphere to try to replicate the country of ancient Egypt. Brought the pyramid over here by way of the dollar bill. Brought the eagle over here as a seal of America. So you're going to have to know who you are and who we are as a people. Now, you're going to have a movement, not with the older people. You're going to have young people okay, to start a movement like Black Lives Matter. Have a movement of young people who will claim ancient Egypt and understand the history of themselves. But the older people, you can put an X through their name. It's over with. Because there's too much confusion. They went to too much confusion. And that confusion is still out here. There's too many stumbling blocks on the way to find your way back to ancient Egypt. You got the religions out here, Christianity, Islam, Judaism, Black Hebrew Israelitism, Zoroastrianism, you got Buddhism, and all these kind of isms by way of religion to stand in your way to block you from finding your way back to ancient Egypt. You got your school system teaching you away from ancient Egypt. That's a blockage. You got all these different organizations teaching you away from ancient Egypt. That's a blockage. So you got to take a quantum leap over all that confusion. You got your Bible out here, and you got these preachers out here, and they're telling you this thing. Go, come to Jesus, and all that confusion. That's all it is. It's confusion. Find your way back to ancient Egypt, and I don't expect for old people to do that. You got to have a movement of young people with fresh minds, okay, that can be taught who our ancestors are. Like I said before, Theodore P. Ford said in his book, God Wills a Negro, the ancient Egyptian vanished and the Negro appeared, okay? And they're showing you how great the ancient Egyptians are, because civilization came out of Africa, not out of China, not out of India, and not out of Europe, but Africa, by one race of people, one African group who lived in the continent of Africa, who brought forth literacy by bringing forth and creating the world's first alphabet. And from that alphabet came the musical scale, do, re, mi, so, fa, la, ti, do. The first letters of the alphabet is your musical scale. So they were the first musicians on earth. They created mathematics. In order to build the Great Pyramid, they had to use mathematics to do that, you see? And they created a mathematical formula to build the Great Pyramid, you see? So I'm not looking for people of my age, your age, our age to do that. I'm looking for young people with fresh minds to do that and can understand, and who haven't been damaged as much as we have with these stumbling blocks in our path to find our way back to ancient Egypt. So that's what I have to say to that young man.
All right. Brother U.A., repatriation versus going somewhere else. You want to weigh in on that?
Well, I'm here.
Go ahead.
Where are we gonna repatriate to? This would be my question. And from.
Okay.
Because
right,
in order to repatriate, you have to have patriated somewhere.
Okay.
You know? And I don't think none of us has patriated to anywhere, so only in mind, thought and mind anyway. Not on paper you haven't. So really, if you're not a citizen, then what do you have to repatriate to? Because you never won from the jump street. That's all.
Okay. Well, we're down to our last minute. Brother U.A., you want to tell us how to get a hold to them books and how to get in touch with you and all that good stuff?
Yes, sir. At Underground Bookstore at 1727 East 87th Street in Chicago, 1727 East 87th Street in Chicago for those people who are in the city, or if you're coming into the city anytime soon. You can email me at undergroundbookstore, the number 1 at gmail.com, or undergroundbookstore, the number 1 at yahoo.com. You can call me by telephone at 773-768-8869, 773-768-8869. And that's how you can get in touch with me. Thank you very much. Thank you to the listening audience. It's been a wonderful conversation. We can go a little bit deeper into this conversation and get down to the nitty-gritty, but, you know, I enjoyed the ride so far, and hopefully, the audience, listening audience did as well. Thank you, Professor Williams, and thank you, Tahaka, for having us. So, appreciate it. That's it.
All right, my brother. Dr. Williams, you want to give out your new email address so people know how to contact you by email?
Yeah, you can contact me at like in Victor, I-E-N-E-A, B-I-E-N-E-A at gmail.com. That's Vienea at gmail.com. I don't have my old and original email anymore until I get some things straightened out. But you can contact me there, email me, and if you want to talk to me further, put your phone number there in your email, and I'll call you back and we can talk. You can buy both of my books, The Historical Origin of Christianity, whereby the thesis of that book is saying that there has never been a man that ever walked the earth in human form of any race, creed, or color by the name of Jesus Christ. Never existed. My second book is called The Historical Origin of Islam. The thesis of that book is saying that there has never been a man that ever walked the earth in human form of Islamic tradition. Never existed. No Muhammad, no Christ, no Jesus, none of that. And you can buy those books by ordering those books from the Underground Bookstore right here in Chicago. And you can call Brother Yoel, place your order by calling 773-768-8869, 773-768-8869. Or if you have an African bookstore in your community, go to your African bookstore and you can purchase my books from your African bookstore. Or if there's a bookstore in your community, go there and you can purchase my book through whatever bookstore that you have in your community. Or you can go to Amazon and order both of my books. So that's how you can contact me, and that's how you can order both of my books. And I want to say that I enjoyed being on tonight's broadcast, and I want to leave you with a little song. There is room at the pyramid for you. There is room at the pyramid for you. Millions have come and millions have gone, but there's still room at the pyramid for you. So I want all you Africans out there to meet me at the Great Pyramid in Egypt. Bring with you, when you come, bring your ox with you, which is a symbol of life, and discard your cross, which is a symbol of death. So bring only the symbol of life with you. Again, there's room at the pyramid for you. There is room at the pyramid, oh, for you. Millions have come and millions have gone, but there's still room at the pyramid for you. So that's what I have to say to my brothers and sisters out in the listening audience. I want to let you know that I love you, and I'll always be thinking about you. You're always in my thoughts and in my life. And I'm glad to be an African living at this time in world history. I'm glad to know that I am a descendant of the greatest people that's ever walked this earth, known in history as the ancient Egyptians. So with that, I say thank you, thank you, thank you, and I love you. Brother Tahaka.
All right, Dr. Williams, certainly appreciate you being on the broadcast. And we're going to go ahead and close on out. I got this one last plug to play. And until next time, my brother, MAATHIAN Hotel.
Thank you to Target for supporting PBS. In June 2020, in the wake of massive protests against police brutality and the death of George Floyd, a black man who was killed during his arrest in Minneapolis, the New York Times made an unprecedented move. They announced that from then on they'd be capitalizing the B in black to describe people and cultures of African origin both in the United States and elsewhere. It was a big moment not only for black people but also for the term black itself. As is the case for many communities, black isn't the only accepted word that's been used to describe black people. There are other ethnonyms, or names that refer to ethnic or racial groups. Perhaps its most famous contemporary is African American, a term that has become somewhat less popular in recent years in the U.S. But let's take a look at the history of both terms. After all, if we've learned anything on this channel, it's that language is a constantly changing thing. Perhaps by digging deeper, we can gain a deeper understanding of just how difficult it is to encapsulate different peoples and cultures under one umbrella, and how what appears to be the end of a linguistic journey is often just the beginning. Before we get into the nuances of the different words people of African descent have used to describe themselves, we should probably start with, well, Africa itself. Not just the continent, but the word. Africa is a massive, massive chunk of Earth, and is home to many different cultures that don't necessarily see themselves as belonging to the same group. Indeed, it's the most diverse continent in the world. It is, after all, where our human history begins. The history of the word Africa is contentious, and scholars have been left with just theories. We know the ancient Romans coined the term, but we don't know where they got it from. Still, historians agree that the first known reference to Africa was around 2,000 years ago when the Romans used it to refer to Carthage, a rival empire located in present-day Tunisia and northern Algeria. Of course, the Romans weren't the first and only people to give this region a name. The ancient Greeks called the continent Libya. But what did the ancient Africans call themselves? Well, the many, many tribes and cultures there had a number of names and concepts to describe themselves. But ultimately, the Roman term Africa won out among Europeans, even though in the minds of ancient Romans, the name only applied to a small portion of the northern coast of the continent. That's possibly because as Europeans moved further south into the continent, they just brought the name with them. Thus, the word Africa came into popular usage. So that's where we get Africa, but now comes another piece of the puzzle. Where did we get the word black, and how did it come to be thought of as interchangeable with African? It's important to get into because while the term black is gaining in popularity today, the term African American actually rose to prominence because it was considered more appropriate than black or colored. In other words, African American exists because it was once seen as a sort of remedy to the perceived inappropriateness of black, a word that has historically been used for people of sub-Saharan African descent, particularly those who were enslaved. It was at a news conference in 1988 in the Chicago Hyatt Regency O'Hare Hotel that civil rights activist Reverend Jesse L. Jackson announced that black people preferred to be called African American. Jackson said, "To be called African American has cultural integrity. It puts us in our proper historical context. Every ethnic group in this country has a reference to some land base, some historical culture base. African Americans have hit that level of cultural maturity." And why transition to African American from black?
Well, as Black Studies scholar E. Patrick Johnson notes, the word has a difficult history that goes back at least to the 14th century Europe, where black took on a moral dimension. It was used to describe evil and corruption, something that was tainted or soiled. It came in handy when it came time to justify the enslavement of an entire group of people, and was used to associate dark-skinned people with immorality. It was used, in essence, to make it seem like they didn't have the same kind of souls. But during enslavement, black was not the most prominent word used to describe people stolen from their homes in Africa. Colored people and Negro were much more common, and it wasn't until after emancipation in 1863 that black came into more popular use. Though, as E. Patrick Johnson mentions, this wasn't necessarily positive. Instead, the increased prominence of the word black was due to black codes, which limited rights post-emancipation. The word being used to justify white supremacy meant that using it in any other context would be an act of reclamation, and like many words affecting marginalized groups that get reclaimed, not everyone in the community is down with it. But the word's complicated history also made it a potent tool for black activists and revolutionaries to recontextualize its power, as a word that referenced a brutal history put in the hands of the people it once denigrated. This way of thinking found a powerful advocate in W.E.B. Du Bois in the early 20th century. Du Bois was a critic of racial biological essentialism, or the idea that people are born into different races that determine, among other things, their intelligence and potential. He published The Souls of Black Folk in 1903, a seminal work on race in America that boldly recontextualized the word black. For an example of how it was received, the Nashville Banner wrote in its review that The Souls of Black Folk was dangerous for the Negro to read, for it will only incite discontent and fill his imagination with things that do not exist or things that should not bear upon his mind. Another person who embraced the word black was Stokely Carmichael, an organizer who brought wide attention to the term black power during the June 1966 Meredith March against fear in Mississippi. At 19, Carmichael had been the youngest person arrested in the 1961 Freedom Rides, and had gone on to become a prominent voice in black activism. Black power caught on and was embraced by the Black Panthers, which was founded in 1966 in Oakland, California by Huey P. Newton and Bobby Seale. They aligned with socialism and Marxist political philosophies, and they believed revolutionary change was required to root out racism. But some prominent factions of the movement weren't too keen on the term black power. Roy Wilkins, the then executive director of the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, condemned it as anti-white separatism, and Martin Luther King Jr. said that the phrase falls on the ear as racism in reverse. But it's not a matter of figuring out who's right and who's wrong here. Rather, it's about realizing that these debates are not new and are likely to continue. An essay in 1904 by black activist Fannie Barrier-Williams tackled the subject of shedding the then popular term Negro in favor of colored or Afro-American. She preferred colored, saying that it was a name that is suggestive of progress towards respectful recognition. And indeed, colored would go on to become a prevalent term for black people in the U.S. Its eventual association with Jim Crow, however, saw it become taboo in the ensuing decades. In the end, no one person's word is final. It's better and more accurate to think of this as an ongoing conversation about identity, inclusion, and language. Language is a powerful tool that can impress or empower. That's why slurs are so often at the center of debate, and why reclamation is such a tricky process. Black rising in popularity over African American doesn't put the period on the discussion so much as it introduces more question marks. Black scholars and sociologists are now asking, for example, if the word white should be capitalized as well. Some say it shouldn't be, as it refers to a skin color and not a shared experience, while others say this argument gives white people a pass on having to reckon with their identities. Not capitalizing it, in other words, makes it seem like less of an identity or a culture, and thus absolves white people from having to think of their actions in the collective like so many non-white communities are pushed to do. Whatever the future holds, the common thread in both past and present is the desire of marginalized people to use language to put a name to their experiences, empower themselves, and connect with one another. It's likely that will remain the case. If we've learned anything over the past few months, it's that a voice is a powerful thing that can change the world. It's important to be mindful of what you say. We'd like to thank Target for being a proud supporter of PBS. Target stands with Black families, team members, and communities. Target is committed to using its resources nationwide to help heal and create lasting change. Target is investing time, resources, and funding to support new and long-standing partners across the country, groups working to empower Black communities and create opportunity. To learn more about Target support, go to target.com/community. PBS is asking you to share your stories, experiences, and ideas on your life in America today. PBS American Portrait is a nationwide storytelling project, a chance to be seen, heard.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, hope you enjoyed the broadcast. I'm Tahaka Montreal Bay, and good night.